Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Search With Candour. I am Jack Chambers Ward. I am your host as always. And this week I am joined by the one and only Faezeh Shafiee. It's a fantastic conversation all about a particular campaign that basically is around interviews and how you can craft interviews into a full, living, breathing, multi-channel content campaign. It's a brilliant example and a really interesting story that Faezeh brings to the episode. And we also get into a lot of great discussion about how you can use LLMs and AI to really assist in your content creation process as well. I think Faezeh says something along the lines of like, AI was my assistant in this process, essentially. And it's a really great way, I think, of integrating AI without it overtaking the content creation process. Like I said, it's a fantastic conversation. I really, really enjoyed chatting with Faezeh. But before we get to that, please, of course, go and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. On YouTube, you can hit the notification bell, you can hit the subscribe button, and you will never miss a future episode. And you can also, of course, leave a comment down below and let me know what you're enjoying about the show, what you're not enjoying, or who you'd like to see on future episodes. If there's any guests or specialists or experts you'd like to see me chat with on future episodes, please do let me know. You can also leave comments on Spotify and review us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you're enjoying a Search with Candour on. Without any further ado, essentially, here is my conversation with Faezeh Shafiee, and we're going to talk all about interview-based content campaigns created using AI. Assisted by AI is probably a better way of putting it. Assisted creation with AI. Here is my conversation with Faezeh. Enjoy. My guest this week is a freelance international SEO content specialist with over 6 years of experience. She has worked with SaaS, B2B brands, and startups across a wide range of international markets, over 6 different languages, and shares a common love of literature, writing, storytelling, and owns a spectacular wolf dog. Welcome to Search with Candour, Faezeh Shafiee.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for your warm welcome and introduction. I really appreciate it. You mentioning
You're
my
very
wolf
welcome.
dog.
Of course. To give the viewers and listeners some context, you put an Instagram link in the show notes. And I'm a huge animal lover. I've grown up with dogs, had cats over the years and stuff like that. And you got me straight away. No, the wolf dog is absolutely adorable. If you do want to go and check that out, folks, you can go and check out the Instagram in the video description and show notes. Faezeh, before we get into your career, no offense, tell me about your dog. We need to know more about No the wolf dog.
She's 2. She's 2 and she's like a little bit stubborn like all the wolf dogs, but she's really cute and very much uh like she has her own way of communicating, and I it made me learn a lot. She made me learn patience and the love for just living in the moment. She's helping me a lot. She also gave me a lot of traumas at the beginning because having a wolf dog puppy is a mess, but now we are just best friends.
That's what I like to hear. I love the infamous kind of first year of any animal, let alone a wolf dog, is just chaos all the time, right?
I don't want to open that door, but it was hard. It was fun.
well, that's a whole other podcast. We won't do that. Don't worry.
Yeah, that is another subject.
Exactly. But you did bring a really interesting subject for us to talk about. And since Sunday, the 8th of March is coming up, which is International Women's Day, we were just saying before we started recording how topical this conversation is. We're going to talk about a campaign you've done and the broader topic of using interview-based content campaigns, and also how you use AI to help with that kind of content campaign as well. And I think that's a particularly interesting topic because obviously I've talked about many different types of content and content campaigns over the years, but I think there's a particular side of the interview element to it that is obviously near and dear to my heart. Welcome to the podcast. It's interview content, right?
Yes, I was going to mention that exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It feels really relevant to what a lot of people are saying about, bringing things like authenticity and real world experiences and first-hand experience and all that kind of stuff to content. So I guess I'm going to want to open the conversation with what was the initial driving force and inspiration behind that campaign?
Yeah, well, the whole idea of this is actually like very much accurate, having to talk about this right now, because like last year about this time I was working on the campaign. So when I was like just planning for the March content calendar and searching for topics to just like create content on, I came upon the 8th of March, the Women's Day, and I thought to myself, well, like, what can we do? And that year's theme, like last year's theme, was to give power to the women and just like help them to grow. So and I was like working for a startup in sustainability. It was a SaaS, B2B SaaS startup. And like we were just like at the moment of that stage that we wanted to seek more visibility within our own community, because like, okay, it was B2B, and like we wanted to just like reach to the like prospects and target audience that we wanted to reach. So it came to me, and I remember that I was like reading about how we can just like fight against the AI noise, how we can just like offer value to our target audience. And one of the like the tips that like a lot of like experts in SEO and content were like giving away was like to be the source of the information. And how can we be the source of information? One of the like ways were like to interview an expert. So like it struck the chord. And like then in a daily meeting I said like, hey, like team, I'm thinking about for the 8th of March, and we were like at the beginning of February. I'm thinking about the 8th of March, and like how we could just like give platforms to the women in sustainability, and like how women in sustainability are doing. We could just like, I was thinking about writing a statistical blog post, and also like interviewing, because at that time the head of the methodology and the CTO, I think that it was the CTO of the organization were women, and like there were women in sustainability. And I said like, hey, why not I like interview you too? And they said like, yes, but like we also have a partner that like she's the CEO of this like whole recovery organization, that like you could also like maybe
Mm.
interview her. So like interviewing one person became like three. And that was like the moment that just like an idea came into life. And I think that that's the best part of like working in a startup, because like there are a lot of pressures there is a lot of tasks that like, because there is no resources that you have to do on yourself. Like you gotta do everything from the ideation to the hitting the publish button, publication, and then like distribution. Everything is on your shoulder. But then again, the good thing is also that the a little idea that just like you were thinking about it can come to life and get like approved so fast. So after that, once I got the approval, I had to like plan the interviews. Some like one person said like, just um, send the questions to me and I will answer. And but I had to like go where and like interview actually the two other prospects and the two other people that I had like in mind for this campaign. One interview was in Spanish, which is my third language, and another was in English. That was like okay, but like a challenge that was for me is that like, okay, how I can take the content, the interview content from Spanish and the interview content from English, and just like get them and make them into one piece. And that's when AI helped me a lot. It came to my rescue literally, because like having this huge campaign and huge idea and like interviewing three people, one person cannot do it. And but with the help of AI, with the right help of AI, it was possible.
Yeah, I love that. uh, element you said there of you start interviewing one person, you end up realizing you're going to interview three people. I think that's
Yeah.
often the case when you have that real like spark of inspiration, like you said there. It's like, oh yeah, I think I can do this for Women's Day, and then that turns into a bigger thing that turns and expands into out into a whole campaign, right? I think I've had that a couple of times with clients where you have an initial, what seems like a small idea, actually turns into a really like transformative big piece of content. And I love that the way you said there of like using AI in the right way is obviously a huge topic in SEO that we're all talking about at the moment, and
Yeah.
using it the right way is the key word there. And for me, I think a lot of people kind of lean into a lot of, transcriptions and transcribing and things like that. And the fact that you were doing it in multiple languages and compiling it into one article is, I mean, credit to you, Faezeh. That's incredible. Like,
Thank you. I honestly could like I should say this because when you are like working in a small team, you somehow in the content I was the only one, so I had to be the Swiss knife army. So having an AI, how I used it, I don't know, like uh, mm, to even explain about how I used the AI. Would you like me to like explore that
sure, yeah,
area more?
please do, yeah.
So how I did it, it was like basically I had this whole idea, and once I had the meetings, I interviewed, I asked and requested them to give me permission to just like grab and record this video, and then like transcribed it. And once I had the transcription for the Spanish one, I localized it, I translated it, and thanks to AI, it's pretty much like easier. But like then you have to like check the accuracy of the translation and everything. And the main language that I was like working on was English, and then like later on I localized everything on Spanish as well. But the whole thing, like I created a customized GPT for this whole campaign. So like this customized GPT knew exactly, like I fed it, like I started to like do a little bit of wipe coding and how to like create like coded instruction for that specific GPT to know what I exactly want, because I was one person and this GPT was like somehow my assistant throughout the whole process. And the more you feed the AI, the better and the more customized and like personalized answer you get from that AI. So like with this customized GPT, I outlined the whole like questions, how I'm going to like approach each interview, and then once I transcribed them, I fed the whole interview to the AI, and then like from then I started to structure. The keyword was obviously like research before, so like everything like the keyword research and the cluster, the topic of that I wanted to like discuss, even the headings were like chosen before that, and that's how I decided to go and choose the questions and like ask about the experience that these women had in sustainability. And then it was easy because like you had to structure the whole blog post and then repurpose it on different social media, email, and make a whole campaign out of it. I'm saying it now, but the like now so much like quickly, but this whole process, because three people, that's a lot of content, that's a huge, like 3 hours, you should think about like 3 hours, 3 hour content, and make it in one piece. It was very much challenging, and to like make it fair and valuable, and just like, because they had, every one of them had unique stories, and I wanted to reflect it in one piece. So I had to like really dig into it, be very meticulous in what to say, what not to say. And once I had the whole article done, then it was somehow easy to repurpose it on the other social media
That's
and
a really interesting
media.
thing. Yeah, I do a lot of that with the podcast content. I can definitely relate to taking an interview and video format and going through it and, like you said, turning it to social media content, a blog post and things like that. I think
Yeah.
for me, there is an element, like something I always worry about when you take the way someone speaks and the way they deliver information, I think says a lot about a person, even not necessarily the words, but the tone of voice and the way method of delivery. How did you approach that way of taking those 3 interviews and keeping their unique voice still present and consistent in the written formats as well, especially translating from different languages? Well, that's another layer of complexity on top of that as well.
Yeah, well, thankfully, all of the women that I interviewed, they spoke English, but one of them chose to like do the interview in Spanish because, well, I said, like, if you are more comfortable, you can just like talk in Spanish as well. I'm okay with it. And so the thing is that, like, when you work with AI, you have to like have it like for granted that it's going to hallucinate, it's going to change the context, it's going to change the codes and everything. So that's where the human part me helped this whole campaign, because like I had to like go through the transcriptions, and or like, because I recorded the sessions, I had them, like I could have listened to exactly what they were saying, and like that way, even for translation, I could just like, localize the translation humanly as possible to like make it as accurate as possible to the original code. And for the English one, I just had to go through the whole transcription and make sure that I am saying the right word or code that this person like specifically use. Because at the end of the day, like AI, what does is like to polish everything, make it perfect as possible. But when we are doing an interview based content, perfection is not the goal. That human, touch, that sprinkle that on top of everything, that the content that it gives you is something that like gives value and makes the other people read it. It was somehow like I had to be a journalist. I had to think like a journalist and use journalist-based methods, like journalist methods, to actually create this whole piece. So it was SEO, but more than SEO, it was story in this like campaign that mattered the most. So I didn't specifically like went through optimizing for specific keywords, because the value was not the keywords or the visibility that it was going to give us in SERP, which we did achieve because it was so much unique. The topic was so much unique, and we were like so much relevant to the topic that we achieved the first page on SERP. But it was somehow storytelling that was most important in this regard.
Congratulations on the great ranking. I think that is a testament to, like you said, how much work you put into it and how much of the, again, that uniqueness. I know you said at the very beginning of the show, separating from that AI noise is such a big thing we're all talking about when it comes to content creation at the moment. And I think having real human elements, whether that's yourself being the journalist and the editor and the writer and all the 15 different jobs that go into that, but also having the women and the people behind those interviews having real stories and real experiences as well, you can really kind of craft something powerful and unique. And I think storytelling, of course, is the key to that, right? I think you've absolutely nailed it, where that is the thing that I think often separates good content and adequate content from great stuff that really resonates and can really not even necessarily rank, but like have an impact on people, right? And actually resonate with an audience in a way that, we're always talking about marketing in terms of sales and traffic and stuff, but inspire people to do things or encourage people to do things better and things like that. You don't really measure that kind of conversion in content campaigns. But when you can bring real life stories to life in different formats to a new audience, that feels like a really powerful thing that I think, to me, is what separates us as storytellers from something like LLMs, where you could just generate a blog post telling this story, right?
Yeah, you become the source of the information, and you become the source of the story. This was the whole goal, and somehow it was accurate to into the business perspective as well, because like it gave us conversion. It brought like the visibility that we wanted, because at that moment the brand needed more visibility within the community, the sustainability community, within the c-suits, and like, you know, the decision makers. And these type of like content, the interview based content, was like something that was striking a chord within that community, because all of these three women had their own you know, network of people in the same sector. And once we got to, you know, publish this interview, they were like sharing it obviously with their own people and their own community, and they got to know more about our services. And like, okay, like we will get to know more about the women leading the sustainability sector. But then at the end, somehow I had it planned out within the structure of the um, like this content, to talk about our services as well. And this is how like they got to know more about it. And it somehow like pushed our authority, and gave us some more visibility of our service as well. So it was somehow like a strategic move for both the brand and the women like working for the brand, I would say. And interview based campaigns, that like these type of campaigns, like this was the initial one, but like it was so much impactful, and it gave us so much of a good, you know, feedback and conversion, because like sales even could use it in their like sales meetings, like, hey, did you like, they would send this article to one of our like prospects and say like, check our check our brand, check this like recent interview that we did for within the like about the women leading the sustainability, and see what we stand for, how we are doing the business and all. And that actually gave credibility, and turned out like, and pushed for other campaigns, other interview based campaign. This was the initial one, but like after that, so many other clients and like partners came to us asking like, hey, we would like to have like this person interviewed by you, and like do something and run a campaign together and launch a campaign together. That was the success of it as well.
Amazing. So you like accidentally turned into a like journalist and interviewer, now a requested on demand interviewer
It
and journalist.
became, yeah, it became the category on our blog. So like it was just one idea for, because like it was like near and dear to my heart, the 8th of March, and I just wanted to like give value as someone working in sustainability, like amplifying the like voices of women in sustainability. But then after that campaign, like like I had to like create a whole category about that, because like we were like having a scheduled interview for the like upcoming months, and we were having like like campaign launches, like mini campaign, I would say, launches for this type of like interview based campaigns.
Yeah, I love that. Almost like, yeah, rethinking of categorization. I think again a whole other topic we could talk about, but when it comes to types of content, I think interviews and the way those kind of conversations is why I love podcasting so much, and why I think live streams and webinars and all that kind of stuff, they really have taken off in popularity over the last 5 to 10 years on the internet, and I think massively resonate now, as we're saying, in this era of AI search and AI generated content. Do you think that now makes those kinds of types of content even more valuable than they were before, because it has that extra human element to it where you literally are directly interviewing the experts?
Well, interviewing expert has been like always valuable, even like, you know, before AI or right now, it doesn't matter, because like it gives that like source of it makes you become the source of information, the authority that it gives, and like the first hand information that you could get from the expert, and like everything. But right now I wouldn't say that it's like more valuable than like an a content that was made with the help of AI, not with the AI like per se, but a content creator, a human like expert in content would just like create the content with the help of AI. I wouldn't say that they like the interview based content is more valuable than like AI created content with the human, help of human, I would say, because at the end of the day, it's the subject that and the sector that you're working for and who are your audience that you're writing for. Like you don't have to like go and I would say interview people in Barcelona just to get the to write a listicle about top 10 places to eat pizza in Barcelona, because like you don't need that. Obviously there are like in video formats you will see TikTokers or Instagrammers go and like interview. That is good, that is cool, because like it's UGC. But then in context, in content, in like textually, it depends on the topic that you are writing, because is it really important, or is it going to like add value or not? And who is your expert that you are like, who do you
Mhm.
call expert? And is it really like giving you visibility that you want, or giving you the conversion? For example, for us the conversion was that push of awareness about in this aspect, that push of awareness in our within our sustainability community, because we wanted the like sustainability managers and like executives to get to know about our tool. But like an e-commerce maybe doesn't have to like follow the same pattern and like do an interview based campaign or create interview based content.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of thinking about it. There's a phrase I always think about when it comes to, you know, finding guests for the podcast and interviewing people and things like that. It's, would you want to have a conversation with this person? Just, it's as simple as that, right? Would you want to listen to this person speak? And I think that's the approach I always take to content is, are you making content that you would want to read or that you would want to listen to or that you would want to watch, right? And it seems like such a simple little thing, but for me, especially being so relevant now, and I've said Women's Day coming up in a couple of weeks, and you're working on this campaign a year ago for last year's Women's Day. Women's rights are in a very interesting place at the moment. I don't know if you want to explore that a little bit more. Was that part of the inspiration for the campaign? And we talked about before we start recording why this is such a topical discussion at the moment. For me, as a man, I'm seeing some crazy stuff all over the world at the moment. How are you feeling about that at the moment? Just a little pivot to kind of touch on that a little bit.
Sure. Well, I'm Iranian, so like I was born into a patriarchal society that I was like I had to always like fight for my right. I got to fight at every step, every decision that I was going to make, and that is very much personal for me, because women's right and women in my country is a very hot topic, and it really resonated with me, and I wanted to like just like dig deeper into that and uh, amplify that voice of the women, because like the women that we were interviewing also were one of them were from Venezuela, another from Argentina, another was from I think Ghana. I don't remember exactly, but they were also from the countries and regions that were like very much controlled but by the patriarchy, and their story was pretty much inspiring, because like they rose and like showed their own value and just like carried on their own journey.
Yeah, I think that ties so nicely into what you said earlier on, like that inspiration, right? As you see people achieving great things from maybe a similar background to you as an audience member, or completely different backgrounds, and bringing in factors you would never have thought of. You know, speaking as myself as a British man, I don't have the same experiences that you do, Faezeh, the same experiences the women you interviewed, but I can see the humanity and the common ground in all of it, right? In trying to understand and bring in other perspectives, even if it doesn't feel like, I think a lot of people take content as like, oh, this was written for me kind of thing. It's like, I try to explore that and see it from a completely different perspective. Like, I don't know about all of these other elements and what life is like as a woman in different parts of the world. So I want to educate myself, right? That seems like an obvious thing, but I feel like a lot of us, and I've totally been guilty of the other side of just kind of being closed off in my little bubble, right? in my own little section of the world. But I think it seems like a small thing, a little content campaign, but it can make such a big difference and can highlight and bring new voices and help people understand things that are happening around the world as well, right?
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, everybody, every woman, like even you're saying like, okay, you're living in your own bubble, but I'm sure that women in your like near you also are like, facing difficulties and like having, they had at some point of their life had to like fight for their rights and like uh, just fight against that discrimination. I think that's the common ground of being a woman, that like you at some point of your life you had to like fight for your like your own rights. And getting to tell the story of only these three women just was very inspirational for me, because you see, like as I said, like I was a woman from Iran, but then I was telling the story of three other women from three different parts of the world that had to deal with different level of patriarchy and just like fight it over. So like I was somehow overwhelmed because there was so much information that I had to gather and like you know give the give it really like it was a pretty much heavy responsibility on my shoulder, because like what should I say, what should I cut, how should I like structure this content to just like do them fair. And once you get to that point and you work on the content, you feel pretty much proud that okay, last year when I exactly on the 8th of March we published this article, and I was like very much inspired. I said like, okay, I did my part. I will go to manifest and everything, but this was my little tiny like part of my act for the Women's Day campaign as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a brilliant way of thinking about it. Again, I feel like a lot of us kind of get stuck in the what can I do about it kind of situation, right? Often feeling so helpless or so stuck in situations that feel like these huge international human level issues. But just doing your part, I think, is such a powerful message and such an important part of feeling like you can actually contribute, make a difference as an individual. And again, not to get off on a whole other subject where we
Yeah,
are here to talk about content, but I
yeah,
think content is an important part of that. Hearing other people's stories, like I was just saying, seeing people who sound like you or look like you or don't sound like you and don't look like you tell stories that you can understand and relate to. And whether that's, video content and audio like we're doing with this podcast, or it's more written stuff in that format as well. I think that makes such a big difference when it comes to, and I know we this is kind of the key element here, telling stories, right? That is such a key part of that content, and being able to tell either, a client's story or the story of a relevant expert or somebody who has gone through an experience and now wants to talk about that experience is such a core part, I think, of what makes so much content good in the era we're in at the moment with so much AI and stuff like that. That storytelling element, and I know you and I share a love of writing and literature and things like that, Faezeh. Was that a kind of conscious thought from your process, or did that kind of come naturally from your background of being a writer and coming from that kind of love of literature as well?
uh, you mean the whole idea of like having the interview based
Like,
campaign?
having storytelling being a core part of that content
Oh,
structure and like the way your approach to content.
oh, storytelling. Yeah, I am a storyteller at heart, like marketer by craft. I learned marketing, but I was a storyteller since I was a little girl. I would say that, like, yeah, um, since I was a little girl, I was in love with words and literature. Basically, like, chose English literature because of like I was engrossed with poetry and like every day more in love with words and stories. And when I finished and graduated, I thought to myself, now what? And I found myself in the marketing sector. So yeah, I would say that like a story was the most important element in this campaign, because like when you are interviewing somebody, you have to like tell a story. Like, what do you want to like talk about? Even right now that we are like having this podcast, I am telling this story of like how like everything is story. But then SEO comes, and then we have to like find the right keyword for that story. So storytelling was like initially the reason why I chose to like launch this type of campaign, obviously to just like give voice. And from the business part also, these type of like content in if you want to like gain visibility within that community that you want, they are the best type of content. Like, I was recently like interviewed by one of the SEO experts as well, and I've seen that she's doing it with so many other experts, like interviewing and talking about SEO and talking about our experience, and like you know and these like sharing it in the like type of content in the blog as a blog post. And like this way, other people in our own sector get to know about me. And the whole like concept of this podcast is also the same. So like, you want to gain visibility within the marketing community, and we wanted to gain visibility within the sustainability community at that moment. So we chose to tell the story of these women in sustainability. And then we chose to tell the story of so many other people, like interviewing so many other people and tell their story and their side of the sustainability.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, kind of thinking about this podcast as that element to it as well, right? And I totally agree with you that everything is kind of storytelling when you think about it. Everything
Yeah.
is explaining human stories and telling human stories, and whether you kind of consciously go into that, I find myself like not necessarily consciously thinking about that as I go into it, but it just kind of happens because that's what having a conversation is, right? That is what storytelling is. It's such a foundational part of the way we communicate as human beings. And again, not to get too way broad and off topic here, but I think a lot of that is what separates us from the animal kingdom, like our ability to craft stories and tell things in different ways and give context and all this kind of stuff. For me, that is kind of where a lot of the magic comes from we talked about community earlier, right? Like going to conferences or having online meetups or whatever it is, hearing other people's stories like, oh, how did you get into SEO? How did you get your latest job? Why did you move to this city or find your partner or get a new dog or whatever it is? There's so many elements of a person's story that I think bring the magic and bring the like special element to conversations and again, to get too broad, humanity or the human experience. I feel like we're
Yeah,
kind of very off topic here, but
no worries.
when it comes around, I'm going to try and bring it back around to talking about content and focus on the opposite of humans, which I guess is kind of the opposite. Talk about some AI stuff. So you mentioned your process earlier. I think that's a really interesting element to having, obviously, the human element of you being the editor, checking for hallucinations, all of that kind of stuff. Were there any surprises in that process for you when using AI in that kind of transcription, translation, editing, and editorial process that were positive or negative? Or is there anything you would change if you did more interview campaigns going forward?
Well, yes. First of all, I would say that without AI, this idea wouldn't come to life, because it was almost, I would say, impossible for just one person to do all of these things, and like, and with the speed that it was requiring. So I am really genuinely thankful. But there were a lot of hallucinations that, like, it even came to a point that, like, I was asking something, and like, it changed the name of one of the interviewees. Like, it changed it just like completely changed it to somebody else, and I was like, who is this? Like, why we are talking about this person instead of that person? So, like, the editorial judgment when working with the AI is the most important thing that I would say, that is going to, like, save a piece from being a just an AI type of, like, AI generated content that just, like, is worth nothing, and then, like, somebody looks at it like in an ever evolving, like one of these type of content that just, like, starts with these, like, generally typical introductions of AI, like, and a really genuine, authentic piece of content. It, like, I had to go through each paragraph. Like, I was like writing the whole thing, but like using the AI even to polish it. I had to, like, be very much careful on the polished version, like, just double check it, and for the localization as well, because, like, the website that I was working, like, the project that I was working with was multilingual, like, so it was English and then it was Spanish. I run the whole thing on English, so the whole campaign was in English, but I had to, like, localize the article in Spanish as well. So even with the localization, I couldn't just, like, say, okay, the AI will do the translation. No, I did the translation, and, like, with the help of AI, and I had to check every, like, paragraph, just to search for the right abbreviation, or like the right choice of keyword, doing the keyword research to see, like, what is this in Spanish. And then, like, once I was like, I made sure that everything is all right and everything is at the right place, then I, like, was going to publish that piece of content. So yeah, AI really helped me, specifically the customized GPT that I was working with, because, like, it was somehow assistant, something that, like, in startups with little budget, like, you couldn't just, like, hire another person just to be assisting you in some parts, like the social media content creation, or like even generating some ideas. But this helped me a lot, and into the, like, even the creative part of it, I would say, because it gave me so many choices. um, I somehow had this meeting with my AI just to, like, create ideas on how to do this, how to launch it, when to do what. But the human part was very much important, because at the end of the day, I was a point of contact with other humans, and, like, they were trusting me with their story. So there was a huge responsibility. So you cannot just, like, let an AI just write the story and just, like, hit the publish button and just, like, wait for it to, rank, because SERP and ranking and clicks was not the main purpose of this campaign. It was it was something that, like, came after. It was like a bonus. But what we were looking for here was authenticity and authority, and you cannot get authority just with AI.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a real key to that kind of thought leadership style of content, right? Like you said, a building brand authority, establishing authenticity, and often as a result of that, and kind of a compounding result of that, is that visibility growth as well. If you were to do it again, if you're working on future campaigns, without spoiling anything you're working on at the moment, how would you approach it differently? Would you change anything? I guess ideally have a bigger budget, be able to do more. But is there anything you would change in the process? Anything you learned from that process you would make sure you did do or didn't do next time?
mm, think about it right now. Something that I really like. would have liked to do was to give it more visibility, like because like it was a huge thing. uh, but like working in a startup, again, like you don't have the budget to just like go big. So like I would have liked to just like use some budget and like just like push up for this visibility, because I would the I think that it would have given us like much more conversion. But like at that moment we didn't do it. But like in general, like using AI, I would even like go for more customization.
Mm.
Like from 1 year ago, because like I started to use like customized GPT with this project. And then from 1 year ago until now, I learned so much more about like prompt engineering, how to like exactly get the best result from your personalized GPT or personalized AI. Like I say GPT because I use GPT, but like there are like right now so many other models of AI that you could use for your like content creation or campaigns or content strategy, that right now I have better knowledge. And so many things have changed in the AI sector as well, that just like I learned a lot on how to use it better. So I think that that would help a lot right now if I would just like want to launch another interview based campaign, and how to give more value to the reader. Because in the end of the day, like at the end we forget, but these people who even like write the queries in the GPT or on Gemini or Google search, they are human. They are literally human. Like the bots, we are not, like bots are not going to buy from us. Bots are not going to like book a meeting with our experts. So like we have to like be aware of that, and just like optimize for more and even more for humans. So I would just like consider that when I am like launching another campaign, just like more and more and more human.
Nice. I love that. More and more human. That feels like a very hopeful and optimistic message. I've often got into the habit at the end of the episodes being like, "Oh, we're all stuck on AI and it's all doom and gloom." And I appreciate you bringing some optimism and some positivity there, Faezeh.
But no, sometimes I was like feeling this way as well. But at the end of the day, we have to like accept that this is the reality. AI is there and it's a great tool. And I'm telling you that it was not possible to do this whole amazing campaign and so many more things that came like after that without the help of AI. Especially it's like a miracle for us little startups, because with so much little budget and so many like little teams, like what can you do? You couldn't possibly like get this much of impact and like visibility just with one person working in content. So I would really like say that AI is there to help us, to push us up and lift us up. But like one should know how to use it responsibly, because so many people like right now just like let the AI think for them, like just to they choose the narrative. The AI chooses the narrative of a campaign or chooses the narrative or structure of a content. That should not be it. Ideally you should be the expert choosing and telling AI, and like watching it, not to hallucinate and not to change the narrative and the pitch that you wanted to create and the whole like objective that you had in mind. That is how like you could just bring value with AI.
100%. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Every episode, I'd like to finish with some recommendations. And I know you've got some fantastic things to talk about in our little ending section here. What is one actionable thing you can recommend the viewers and listeners to start doing today, Faezeh?
I know that it might come like a cliche, but recently, because of all these like crazy things happening in the world, and like specifically, like as I mentioned, like I'm Iranian, things are like crazy things and brutal things are happening in my country. And in the recent past like 40 days, I couldn't just like take away one moment from my phone. I was like even in the bed just like scrolling and just like searching for news and everything. So like one thing that I've recently like recently, like in the past few days, I have been doing, and I invite other people to do, is just to take a moment to sit with their emotions and get away from social media and all the crazy news. Because in the end of the day, like, we have to just live in a moment and think of the value of life, the little things, enjoy the little, like the sip of coffee in the morning. Or I know that it sounds very much poetic, but at the end of the day, this is what matters the most. At least for me right now, this is what matters the most, because I am living here at peace. So I appreciate this peace. And I just want to like just like take a moment to get away from social media. And I will recommend other people listening or watching this episode as well. Just next time that you're going to bed, just resist the urge to doom scroll. Or next time that like you get on your phone and just like find yourself like doom scrolling, just like stop and just think about something else that gives more value to you, and you're going to feel much better not doing it, like not doing the doom scrolling.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. Absolutely. And I think I'm very consciously trying to do that myself in 2026. It's like very much a goal of mine is to not use my phone in bed. Just like get away from whatever it is, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or whatever it is, all the news. And I got myself a like an e-reader thing, like a Kindle type thing
Oh,
for
yes.
for Christmas. And I've just got so many things, and I'm like, right, that is going to be the thing that is on my bedside table. So when I want to do something before I go to sleep, I read instead, and it
You'll
is
have a screen
such a big
time.
difference.
You'll
Exactly.
have a
Still got my
screen
screen
time, but
time,
it's
but it's
it's
different.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
different type of a screen time. Yeah, I think the same, because like you have to take a moment just to get away from all the news and crazy stuff
exactly.
happening and just like sit with our emotions.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Next up, tool or software you would recommend that you think maybe not enough people know about or not enough people are using?
Recently, I've been using an app called Conduit. It's a global initiative designed for providing internet access to places where connectivity is not like is restricted and is not possible.
Mm,
How it works is that like it makes you as a bandwidth and help root access securely, and people who are using the VPN, I think that is Siphon VPN. People who use Siphon VPN could get access to free internet via this. So like it's recently, because of all the again all the crazy things happening in Iran and the restrictions, I am using this on my laptop. You could just like install it on your Mac or Windows or on your Android, and then like let other people, like you don't get to choose which region, from which region people are going to use your internet, obviously, but like it's somehow a solidarity move for the people who don't have access to free internet. And I think that like it deserves more attention, and more people should know about this.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's such a cool way. I know there's been a few initiatives over the years where, there's such an imbalance of internet access and speeds and restrictions and things like that across the world. And if you can find a way to, like you said, contribute in a way and help people access more of the free internet and be able to basically get information they would otherwise not be able to get. That is such a powerful thing to do. That is really, really cool. I really appreciate that. I will definitely put a link for that in the show notes if you guys want to go and check that out. And
Yeah.
last but certainly not least, you mentioned getting away from social media, getting away from all the noise and stuff like that. What is something you've been enjoying recently, whether it's movie, books, podcasts, whatever it is? What have you been enjoying recently, Faezeh?
Recently, I started like watercolor painting. It's
Mm,
pretty much basic, so I wouldn't say like I'm just like learning, but like it's one of those things that just like makes you focus and just like disconnects you from everything happening around you. So when I was a kid, I used to watch every afternoon like the show of Bob Ross. I don't know if you know him. Like it was like this, well, he was my favorite, like, and I would like get mesmerized by how easy he was painting. And like painting has always been my passion, but I've never like just like,
Mm.
get into it because I was like, I'm not good. I cannot do it. But recently it's just like, I'm going with the flow and creating things, and like watercoloring is pretty much easy and so much enjoyable for me. So it makes me focus and it forces patience, and it reminds me that not everything needs to be optimized, I guess.
That's a really good way of thinking about it. I love that. Not everything needs to be optimized is such a great way of thinking about it, because we feel like, as I definitely feel this pressure, and that's how my brain works. If you try a new thing or you're given a new task, you need to be brilliant at it straight away, right? You need to be the best content writer, the best this, the best that.
Yeah.
Or if I'm starting a new hobby, you need to be fully committed straight away. But actually trying something completely new that doesn't have that pressure,
Yeah.
that is really refreshing. That sounds fantastic.
And it doesn't have to do anything with marketing or like,
Yeah.
and you just
You're
like,
not suddenly setting up an Etsy shop to then sell your paintings and all that, because there's no pressure there, right?
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Nobody would want to buy my paintings. I would guarantee that.
And shout out to Bob Ross. Like, what an amazing pull that. I think that's the first time Bob Ross has been mentioned in 350 episodes of the podcast. So very well done, mate. And
A true hero.
right. Enjoy painting your little fluffy clouds and your nice little treetops and stuff like that. Is there anything particularly you enjoy painting? Are you doing a particular kind of like, is it particular landscapes or
No,
animals or just whatever comes
anything.
to mind?
Anything. I watch tutorials, and if I see that it's
Mm.
doable, I just like get it into it. Like right now, I'm just like going with tutorials. I don't have like original ideas, but like I suppose that I will just go with the flow, and somehow miraculously original ideas come to me.
Amazing. Well, folks, if you're not inspired to go and create new content plans and content campaigns with interviews, and also start watercoloring, and also join Conduit, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm definitely inspired. Thank you so much for joining me, Faezeh. It's been a pleasure having a conversation with you. How can people keep up with what you're doing in SEO, content creation, and all the cool things you're doing around the internet?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, and thank you to all the people listening or watching this episode. You could just like follow me on LinkedIn, and I would love to like always get to know more of my community and just get to know more about the people and be one a little bit more human, because I feel like LinkedIn also is pretty much like tense environment because everybody is like talking about so many serious work, but at the end of the day we forget that we are all human, we make mistake, and we have made mistake in the past, and we will like continue doing that. So like just like give me a follow or just like write to me, and if you want to talk about content or watercoloring, or if you have a wolf dog that you're like dealing with, and I would love to talk. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Absolutely. I will put links in the show notes and video description if you do want to go and check out. Go and follow Faezeh and connect with her on LinkedIn. Go and check out No the Wolf Dog on Instagram. Check out Conduit and start. I'll even put a link. I will get a recommendation for your favorite Bob Ross video, and I'll put that in the show notes as well, Faezeh. We'll,
That would be
we'll
great
chuck some
because I
Bob
think
Ross
that
in
I
the show
have
notes for
one.
you folks. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you.
And that wraps up this week's episode. Hopefully, you enjoyed my conversation with Faezeh as much as I did. If you do want to go and get into watercolors, or enjoy Bob Ross, or check out Conduit and all that amazing stuff that Faezeh talked about in the episode, like I said, links down below in the show notes and video description. Go and check those out. And yeah, switch off from social media, go and relax, spend some time just enjoying art or the outside or whatever it is, and just switch off from everything for a little while. I think that's a really good, healthy recommendation from Faezeh at the end of the interview there. In the meantime, between you going off and relaxing and going and touching grass and things like that, you can enjoy future episodes of the podcast. I've got recordings with amazing people like Dina Warren and Bengu Sarika Dinkir coming up over the next few weeks. Of course, Mark and I will be back in the studio as well, and I'll do some solo episodes as well. Don't you worry. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the weekend coming up, the week coming up when it comes to International Women's Day. Like I said, it's coming up on the 8th of March. And enjoy the rest of your week. And I will see you next Monday. Thanks so much. See you then.